A Category 2 cyclone is barreling down the Western Australian coastline right now, and most people have no idea that a second potential cyclone is quietly forming off Queensland. This is not a drill. Two systems, two coasts, one wild week of weather across Australia. This is your full 7-day Australian weather breakdown for the week of February the 9th, 2026. And if you live anywhere from Perth to Brisbane, the next few minutes could change how you prepare for this week. Here is what I need you to do right now. Drop a comment below telling me which city or town you are in, and I will make sure upcoming forecasts cover your area in more detail. Seriously, the more specific you are, the better I can help you prepare. Whether you are in a small coastal town or a major capital, your location matters. Now let me tell you exactly what is coming. Tropical Cyclone Mitchell is currently a Category 2 system packing destructive winds, and it is tracking just slightly offshore along the western coastline. That tiny detail just slightly offshore is the reason this storm is more dangerous than many people realise. When a cyclone stays over water, even by a narrow margin, it keeps feeding on warm ocean energy. It does not weaken. It holds its punch for longer. And that is precisely what Mitchell is doing right now, hugging the coast, maintaining its strength kilometre after kilometre as it pushes south. But here is the twist most people are not talking about. While everyone is focused on Mitchell in the west, there is a low pressure system brewing in the Coral Sea, northeast of Queensland. And weather modelling has been flagging it consistently for 2 weeks straight. 2 weeks. That level of consistency in long-range modelling is unusual, and it means we need to pay very close attention. I am going to break down exactly what that system could become at the 3-minute 20 mark of this forecast, so do not skip ahead just yet. Because what happens with Mitchell first directly affects the broader pressure patterns that influence what happens with that Queensland system. Let us start with the most urgent threat, Tropical Cyclone Mitchell and Western Australia. Monday the 9th of February, this afternoon, Mitchell is sitting just north of Carnarvon. The centre of the cyclone is expected to cross the coast near Carnarvon between 5 and 6 in the evening Western Australian time, give or take a couple of hours. At that point, it is still a Category 2 system. Winds are destructive, rain is torrential, and here is the number that should grab your attention. 150 millimetres of rain is forecast for areas around Denham, just south of Carnarvon, in the next 24 hours alone. 150 millimetres. That is not a passing shower. That is serious flooding potential for roads, properties and low-lying areas. Further inland from Geraldton, rainfall totals could hit 80 millimetres, possibly more if thunderstorms develop on top of the broader rain band. And the wet weather does not stop at the mid-west coast. A massive convergence line is stretching the moisture all the way down to the southern coastline of Western Australia. So even if you are hundreds of kilometres from the cyclone centre, you are not necessarily in the clear. That moisture train is long and it is wide. By Tuesday afternoon, Mitchell starts to lose its structure as it pushes inland. The cyclone will weaken, the winds will fall apart, and it will lose its official tropical cyclone status. But do not let that fool you. A weakening cyclone does not mean the rain stops. The moisture from this system gets dragged right across into South Australia, and that is where the next chapter of this week's weather story begins. Now, here is something critical for anyone in the path, the wind direction shift. Before Mitchell passes, you will feel northeasterly to easterly winds. Once the centre moves through, those winds flip to a more southerly direction. That sudden shift can catch people off guard, especially if you are near the coast or in an area with loose debris, unsecured items or temporary structures. So keep that timing in mind. Monday evening through Tuesday morning is the most dangerous window for Carnarvon, Denham and surrounding communities. If you are in these areas, prepare before 5 in the evening today. Moving east now, South Australia, you are next. By Wednesday the 11th, the remnants of Cyclone Mitchell have drifted right over South Australia. It will not produce huge rainfall totals, but what it will bring is heat and humidity across the top 2/3 of the state. It is going to feel oppressive, the kind of sticky, heavy air that drains your energy during the day. Meanwhile, a new high-pressure system way off the west coast of Australia starts pulling in a southerly change. That cold front arrives on the west coast of South Australia on Wednesday afternoon, bringing rain, showers and west to northwest winds that turn southwest by night time. For Adelaide and southern coastal areas, this is actually a relief. The southerly change cools things down noticeably. But if you are further north in South Australia, you are still sitting in that sticky, humid air mass with no immediate relief in sight. Tasmania, you are caught between two high-pressure zones this week. A small pocket of low pressure creates variable winds, but honestly, you probably will not notice much difference in your day-to-day. Winds change direction by Sunday, and for the most part, it is dry. Large dry areas dominate the island state this week, with only a few hit-and-miss downpours possible. Not the rain relief many of you have been hoping for, unfortunately. If you are a farmer counting on rain in Tasmania this week, the outlook is not encouraging. Now, Victoria. Here is the honest picture, and I know many of you will not love hearing this. A cold front pushes through on Thursday the 13th, delivering a line of showers and a few thunderstorms, but here is the reality check. Rainfall totals for most areas stay below 5 millimetres. 5. That is barely enough to wet the ground. If you are in the eastern half of Victoria, especially the mountainous areas and the Great Dividing Range, you might see 5 to 10, maybe even 10 to 15 millimetres. But west of Melbourne, mostly dry. The eastern highlands and ranges get the best chance of meaningful rain, but for populated areas across the western half of the state, the rain relief remains frustratingly small. Not zero, but not significant either. The easterly flow coming in behind the high pressure system actually works against rainfall for many of you by pushing the moisture away. Do not skip past this next section, because what I am about to share is the part of the forecast that could affect millions of Australians along the east coast. New South Wales and the Australian Capital Territory. Wednesday the 11th is your hot day. The heat pushes right across the state and into the Capital Territory ahead of that cold change. Temperatures will climb, especially in Western Sydney and inland areas. Thursday brings the front through with showers and thunderstorms. Similar totals to Victoria, 5 to 10 millimetres in most areas, slightly more in the ranges. But here is where it gets genuinely interesting, and this is the part you need to hear. By Friday the 14th, a squeeze zone develops between low pressure over Queensland and high pressure off the New South Wales coast. That compression forces strong northeasterly winds through New South Wales and along the eastern coastline, particularly south of Brisbane and into the Northern Rivers region. Rainfall totals could hit 100 millimetres in a single day, 100 millimetres in 24 hours. That rain will pour into streams, creeks and rivers. So if you are in the Northern Rivers, the Hunter Valley, or anywhere along the Great Dividing Range corridor from Port Macquarie up to Brisbane, be prepared for potentially significant water movement through Friday. Watch for rapid rises in creek and river levels, especially in the afternoon and evening. And for those inland areas between Port Macquarie and Brisbane, including higher elevation zones and the main ranges, some modelling is showing accumulated totals of 200 to 300 millimetres through the week. That is extraordinary. Those are numbers we have not seen in these areas for quite some time. But cross the mountains west of Sydney into the outback and it drops off dramatically. It is a sharp divide. Coastal areas and the ranges get drenched while inland stays dry, almost like two different countries separated by one mountain range. Now, here is what I promised you, the potential second cyclone forming off Queensland. This is the section you absolutely need to hear. In the Coral Sea, near the Solomon Sea, a low-pressure system has been showing up in weather modelling consistently for approximately 2 weeks. That is a long time for a system to keep appearing in forecast models. Most borderline systems flash in and out of the modelling over a few days and then vanish. This one has not vanished. It keeps coming back, and each run of the models, it looks a little more organised. As of today, when you zoom into the modelling, it looks like a tropical cyclone. The structure is there, the rotation is there, the circular shape is developing. Some models are suggesting it could develop into a Category 2 or even Category 3 system by early next week. Now, I want to be completely transparent with you. The tracking of this system is not locked in yet. At this stage, it is expected to move southeast, out to sea, away from the Queensland coast. But here is the complication that keeps forecasters watching closely. High pressure sitting further to the south could redirect it. If that high shifts position even slightly, the cyclone S path changes. Think of it like a ball rolling on a tilted table. Move the tilt just a fraction, and the ball goes in a completely different direction. That is why this system needs daily monitoring. Here's what I want you to understand. This is not a reason to panic. It is a reason to stay informed. If tomorrow S modelling update still shows this system in the same area with the same intensity, that will make it roughly 5 or 6 consecutive days of consistent modelling. That kind of persistence in forecasting is significant. If it disappears from the models tomorrow, then it was a borderline system and we move on with confidence. But if it stays, Queensland needs to start paying closer attention heading into next week. For now, there is no immediate threat to the Queensland coast, but it is close enough and consistent enough that ignoring it would be irresponsible. Queensland For this week specifically, low pressure systems are dominating your weather pattern. Thunderstorm activity increases day after day, building in intensity, with some inland areas potentially receiving 150 millimetres in just 24 hours by the weekend. That is before we even factor in the potential offshore cyclone. The Kimberley region in Western Australia far north also continues to see plenty of thundery showers moving through as we go into the weekend. Darwin and the top end see ongoing monsoon-influenced thunderstorms still active enough to keep things interesting. Let me give you the city-by-city summary for the week so you know exactly what to expect and when. Perth and southwest Western Australia. Wet weather from the convergence line tied to Cyclone Mitchell early in the week. Expect rain and thunderstorms Monday and Tuesday. Drier conditions return by midweek as the system moves east. By the weekend, mostly settled. Carnarvon and midwest Western Australia, the most directly impacted area in the country this week. Monday evening through Tuesday morning is the danger window. 150 millimetres possible near Denham, 80 plus millimetres inland near Geraldton. Winds shift direction as the centre passes. Prepare before 5 in the evening Monday, Adelaide and South Australia. Heat and humidity midweek from Mitchell-S remnants. Cold front arrives Wednesday afternoon, bringing genuine relief to coastal areas in the city. Northern parts of the state stay hot and humid for longer. Mostly dry by the weekend, Melbourne and Victoria. Cold front Thursday with showers, mainly in the east. 5 to 15 millimetres in the ranges and eastern highlands. Western suburbs and areas west of Melbourne stay mostly dry. Easterly winds dominate into the weekend, keeping it drier than many would like. Hobart and Tasmania, mostly dry all week. Variable winds with a direction change by Sunday. A few isolated showers possible, but no significant rainfall expected. Caught between high-pressure systems, Sydney and New South Wales. Hot on Wednesday, particularly in the west. Front comes through Thursday with light to moderate showers. The big event is Friday when the pressure squeeze zone could deliver 100 millimetres along the coast and into the northern rivers. Inland areas from Port Macquarie to Brisbane could see 200 to 300 millimetres accumulated through the week at higher elevations, Brisbane and Queensland. Increasing thunderstorm activity all week, building each day. Inland areas could see 150 millimetres or more by the weekend in just 24 hours. The offshore Coral Sea low needs daily monitoring from here on out. Potential cyclone development by early next week is on the table. Canberra and the Australian Capital Territory. Hot Wednesday ahead of the change. Showers and thunderstorms Thursday. Similar totals to inland New South Wales, 5 to 10 millimetres. Drier into the weekend. Now, before I go, here is what is coming in tomorrow's update, and this is exactly why you will want to come back. By Tuesday, we will have brand new modelling data on that Coral Sea low. If it is still showing up, we are going to dive deep into the potential tracking scenarios and what each one means for the Queensland coast. We will also have post-impact data from Cyclone Mitchell, including actual rainfall totals versus what was forecast. And if any new systems start showing up in the models, you will hear about them here first. One more time, drop your city or town in the comments below. Tell me where you are watching from. It helps me tailor these forecasts to the areas that matter most to you. And if someone you know lives in Western Australia, especially around Carnarvon or Geraldton, share this with them now. I will see you in tomorrow's update, Tuesday the 10th of February. That Coral Sea system is the one I am watching closest, and by tomorrow we should have a much clearer picture of whether Queensland is in for a serious weather event next week. Trust me, you will not want